Alright, guys, happy Monday. Welcome to Life's Not Linear. Today I'm interviewing Olivia Menzia. She is one of my dear friends. Oh, hey, Liv. Okay. Hi.
Hi!
Welcome. Oh my God, your earrings.
Power Palms.
I love it.
Thanks, love.
Thanks for being on the live stream.
Yes, I've never done this.
Exciting. It's okay. It's pretty easy. You made it here, so that was the hardest part.
I'm always nervous, but yeah, no. Having you on here with me makes it more comfortable, so.
It'll be good.
I'm
All
just
right.
gonna set this up. There
So,
we go.
okay, awesome. So could you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you went to school and kind of your transition from college to, or if you want to start even from high school to college, then college to industry, we can do that too.
Okay. I went to school at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in addition to Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, where I got a graphic design minor alongside my major, which was in advertising at Marquette. So I went to Marquette because I couldn't decide between art school and like a university life. And
Mhm.
so I decided that I was going to do both. And that's kind of what brought me to Marquette.
Okay, awesome. And so you were able to go to both schools, Myad and Marquette, with that?
Yeah, there's a program where they pick a few students. You have to kind of apply as you would if you were to go
Mhm.
to art school to Myad, but it would be through Marquette. Primarily, it was communication students that would end up doing this dual program, but I had a friend that went to
Mhm.
Marquette that actually told me about it. So I had no idea that it existed. They don't really advertise it a bunch because there was like 5 of us
Mhm.
in my grade, so we all became really close, but that is how I found out about the program. And it was amazing because I don't know where I would be right now if I didn't go to Myad part time in addition to
Mhm.
Marquette. I can't imagine just doing the Marquette life. But I loved every second of it, but it kind of brought in an interesting dynamic to my college career.
Mhm. That's awesome. So I would love to talk a little bit more about your life post grad because I know
Mhm.
you were interviewing for a couple companies, but you've been crushing it with freelance. So I'd love to talk more about that and how you what you've learned and how you've balanced that.
Yeah, I always wanted to do freelance, although I never expected it to be the thing that I end up doing right away. I thought that was going to be something after getting
Mhm.
some industry experience, at least in advertising or getting a full time graphic design gig, which I did bop around and I did get some smaller contract work, like the graphic design industry. Unfortunately, talking in home. So, oh, there you are.
Yeah, it was
Did I
reconnecting.
freeze?
I think we both
Okay.
froze.
Um, so basically, I kind of been hopping in and out. Again, it wasn't what I had planned. It's what happened naturally, and I ended up getting a job as a graphic designer at Summerfest. And so I done freelance, and then I got this job at Summerfest, and then
Mhm.
of course, what happens? COVID happens, and I'm like one of millions of people that had lost their jobs. So now I'm back in the freelance stage, and it's almost
Mhm.
like that's where I've belonged this whole time because every time I keep getting out of it because it's not what is like typical for someone that just
Mhm.
graduated. I end up getting back into it.
So, and then what made you or I guess how was that transition of how was it handling freelance? I know you all these different clients and your income too. When you graduate, you just want this steady income, but with freelance, you never know.
Yeah, Yeah, it's hard to organize. I do have an Excel sheet that has all the different clients that I do
Mm-hmm.
have alongside the different projects. And so it took me a while to kind of figure out how to make it work because it's so untraditional. Deciding, okay, today I'm going to work on one client, and then the next day I'm going to focus maybe on my ice cream business, and then on
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday I'm going to focus on this other client. I found that to be more productive for myself rather than jumping around because it's hard for me to get focused and get started. So that's kind of how I've been handling it. Financials has always been super tricky for me, especially as a creative.
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of a pushover, and it's really hard for me to send in invoices and get my payments on time. But the reality is, I'm an adult and I have to pay my rent. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of cracked down on myself. And I think, at the beginning, it was really hard to ask for my rate. But
Mm-hmm.
now, after having some other mentors that do this full time, they've kind of told me, okay, like you send invoice immediately, you have them pay you before you even start the project
Mm-hmm.
so that you know that you're going to get the payment. Because I have had situations where, because I was a post grad and I needed experience,
Mm-hmm.
that they just assumed that it was going to be free, when in reality, when it's your full-time job, it's not. And if it took 7 hours, you should be compensated for your work, whether it's me drawing on my iPad or me plugging in numbers. It's
Mm-hmm.
technically the same thing. It's your time that could be spent with friends and family.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the hardest part, is me asking for the money, but I've
Mm-hmm.
definitely gotten better at that.
I'm glad to hear that. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. Like you just graduated and then you're just kind of like you're freelancing and your own business and just being able to kind of learn all of that at so young. I think that's awesome. So I want
Yeah.
to dive more into that. Uh, could you talk about starting your ice cream business and kind of the why and the
Yeah.
when and all that?
Yeah, I love ice cream. I know a few people that are on here right now watching this, and they could they definitely know as well, because most of them I've gotten ice cream with before. That it's just it's always been kind of part of my life, and I didn't have intentions of starting an ice cream. I've always knew I wanted a business, but I didn't know, like, I'm going to start ice cream business. And
Mhm.
actually, Miss Vonderlippy's on here. Hello. Her family, so my boyfriend Grant and his family actually bought me an ice cream machine for my birthday senior year. It was the
Mhm.
best birthday gift I've ever gotten, and I just started making it, and people kept trying it. And as someone who's a giver, I just always was sharing it, and it just took a few people to say, hey, you should sell this. And as someone who like loves entrepreneurial mindset, I'm
Mhm.
always selling like random pieces of art. I was like, start selling ice cream, like this is so fun. And it kind of just took off, and because of all the different resources at Marquette, it allowed me to actually make it legit, to get legal help, to get the licensing, to do a
Mhm.
Shark Tank pitch through Marquette and win money. And so all of this stuff, it started as kind of a hobby and making ice cream for my friends, but because of the resources and me being in college and as a senior, just like the circumstance and the timing, kind of gave me the confidence, I think, to like actually make it
Mhm.
a real company. And it's still a work in progress. I actually have food kitchen training tomorrow morning.
That's
So I'm in a food
exciting.
kitchen now. Yes, I'm excited. So, I don't know. Like, it would be cool for it to be my full time job and for it to blow up, but also I'm not one to push things. I think that, what happens is what's meant to happen. And if it's
Mhm.
just making allergy friendly ice cream for kids when I'm older for their birthday parties where everyone can have it, that's great. I'm okay with that. And that means maybe I can, you know, go more the design route. But if maybe
Mhm.
for some reason the ice cream's what kind of takes over, then I decided, then I'll just do the design for the ice cream. And so
Mhm.
for a while I was kind of trying to decide like which life I want to go towards, since I'm all over the place as it is. And so I just decided, I'm going to keep trying it, both of them, and whichever one kind of takes off first, and can support me, is going
Mhm.
to be what kind of dominates, instead of trying to force something. Because
That's
the ice
awesome.
cream thing's hard. I
Yeah.
mean, the licensing, we've talked about it, especially when we were at the Commons together. Like, I just am not a type A person to understand the paperwork. And so
Mhm.
figuring out the paperwork, I still can't even believe I figured it out now. So
Yeah, so with, starting the ice cream business, with all of your freelancing, how have you handled and how have you been able to handle all these like transitions and being an entrepreneur?
It's very up and down,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure that the people that are the closest to me definitely can see that. I'm always very busy, whether I have a ton of projects to do or not. Either I'm like trying to brew up something new to
Mm-hmm.
make the income, to make ends meet, or I'm trying to catch up on all the different things that I had brewed up early. It's this
Mm-hmm.
like up down, up down. And so I think what's allowed me to kind of manage it is, and I don't even remember what the original question is now because this is how
It's
I
okay.
am as a person. I'm all over the place. But to kind of treat it as a 9 to 5, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that like I have to work a certain amount of hours on projects every day. So technically, like right now I'm at work, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of self-discipline that was very hard for me because right now, it's really easy for me to be like, oh, let's go play outside. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially for the people that have gotten laid off and maybe are on unemployment. That's not the case for me. It's a little different for a freelancer and losing work, unfortunately. And so being disciplined and actually making myself work even on those really sunny days is
Mm-hmm.
probably the hardest part. And that's why I have this structure of like, today I'm working on design stuff. Tomorrow, since I'm going to the food kitchen in the morning, it's going to be an ice cream day. um so yeah, I'm rambling now.
No,
Yes.
that's good. It's good to know like how you've been able to help like set your own schedule when nobody's like setting it for you. I mean,
Hmm.
you pick your projects or like create your projects and decide when to do them and like you pay yourself too. So like that's it's like hard to do. So you're not rambling. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so what is I like to ask this question, but what is one piece of advice that you would maybe want to go back and give yourself a year ago and or that you would want to give to people today? Maybe to like other freelancers or other new grads
Hmm.
kind of going into like a similar space as you.
Yeah, I think, right, I feel like I'm in no place to give someone advice on this because I sometimes need to take my own advice.
Hmm.
But I think that it's okay to do the untraditional, and every time I try and do the traditional, something happens that
Hmm.
brings me back to the untraditional. And the prime example is getting the dream design gig at Summerfest, and
Hmm.
then something happening, and right, COVID comes along, and boom, bam, I'm back to doing the untraditional again. And every single time I try to get that job that everyone thinks that I'm supposed to have,
Hmm.
something happens. I get a note, an email. I actually just got one saying from a brewery that's vegan saying, "Hey, do you want to do wholesale and sell your
That's
ice cream?" And it's like
awesome.
the minute, yeah, thank you, I'm excited. But the minute things
Hmm.
start going the way that is what everyone envisions me to do, I something happens. I get fired. I get
Hmm.
furloughed. Then I get this crazy email for this crazy opportunity that's like, who would get that? And
Hmm.
so I just think that it's important. Like, if there is something that doesn't seem, the traditional route that you've always wanted to try, to just do it. And it doesn't have to be your full-time job. I understand probably what I'm doing for some people isn't a very comfortable decision,
Hmm.
especially when I always have to explain to people like what I'm actually doing during the day. That's
Yeah.
like some people just don't understand what I'm doing all day. Um, but like at least as a side hobby, a side hustle, when after work, instead of watching Netflix for 2 hours, I have a friend that's starting to make clay earrings because she's always wanted to sell them. So instead of watching TV at night, or while she's watching TV, she'll be making the clay earrings,
Hmm.
and maybe that will lead to something down the line. So it's okay to try these new things and kind of go out of your comfort zone. And I wish when I graduated that I knew that, because I kept trying to get myself to get an ad agency job, which I can't sit at a desk that long. I'd go crazy.
Hmm.
And I'm still guilty for it. Well, I was on LinkedIn this morning looking for full-time jobs because there's moments where people doubt me, and then I think that I need to get a full-time job, even
Hmm.
though I'm making more as a creative right now working for myself, which I think is the craziest thing. People don't. It is up and down, and it is a lot of work, but I am getting paid more an hour and treated better
Hmm.
working for myself than if I were to work for an agency, because I could make more for my friends at home at Andy's Custard, scooping custard, which y'all know I'd love. I could make more an hour there than I could designing, because people don't value the creative field. So
That's so
that's why
sad.
I'm working for myself. Yeah, and I understand that there are some jobs that are a little more technical and might take college career, but I also took a lot of time to learn the creative suite, and I think
Hmm.
it's just as challenging, and you can't really learn how to be creative, and so it kind of stinks that it's not as valued as much as I would like it to be, but we're making it work.
I'm so glad that you shared that. Like, I
Good.
definitely, I know a lot of my creative friends talk about it, but it needs to be talked about more, like the value of creatives. And, we consume creative things every day, music, art, movies, TV, but then we're
Mm-hmm.
hesitant to pay those people the right amount of money. Um, so thank you for sharing your advice. Thank
Yeah,
you for showing us that, taking risks and is worth the reward. And thanks for sharing a little bit about your backstory too.
of course, Tara, always
All
happy
right.
to.
Well, good luck today with design work and tomorrow with ice cream work.
Thank you, and
Mhm.
we'll talk soon, and hope that you're doing well as
Thank you. You
well
too.
through this crazy time. And everyone watching, hey, what's up? See you
All
later.
right. I'll see you, Liv.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.